think it's interesting with broadcasters. I think they've been quite slow actually to adopt to fast. ITV recently started 2 channels, Hell's Kitchen and Storylands, and I think a number of broadcasters are going to follow that model. They're not just putting ITV onto Samsung, they're taking some of their well-known content and putting it as a channel uniquely onto the fast platforms. And that's probably the best way to go. We're actually working with Narrative Entertainment, who have taken their very well-known kids channels, Pop and Tiny Pop, and they've amalgamated them and created one channel called Pop Kids on Samsung TV Plus. And it's quite interesting in that they're not directly replicating what they're doing on traditional TV, but they're taking the best bits of that and creating a new channel and broadcasting that directly onto the likes of Samsung. There's other channels like Premier Sports, now Viaplay, who we also work with, who have just taken their exact channel that runs on Sky and Virgin and broadcast that now directly onto Samsung. And they're using Amazon Web Services for ad insertion, DAI. So we're taking the exact same feed but putting new ads to replace that. And for them, that's quite smart because when you work with some of these new fast platforms, there isn't a huge cost like there is with Freeview or Sky. It gives them the opportunity to reach a sort of light TV viewer. They are reaching a slightly newer audience, and they're also able to get different advertising and, importantly, incremental advertising revenue. I think fast is probably the best opportunity some of these small broadcasters have had over the last few years. A lot of these broadcasters have very well produced content. They've got a very specific and often quite niche audience, and historically their option has been YouTube, really, or possibly local TV, or just creating their own web page and running content through that. TV is really expensive. It's not easy to access. Even if you've got great content, you also need to schedule that content properly, and you need to deliver it properly, and you need to deliver the adverts properly. And so a lot of smaller broadcasters have essentially been costed out of that market. Fast gives them an opportunity actually to run some of this incredible content that they own on TV, on the sort of biggest screen in the house, at a fraction of the cost of TV. So I think from an opportunity perspective, it's really exciting. In terms of how they're doing it, I think, one of the big options available to them now is self-serve scheduling. So there are various operators out there who can enable them to schedule a channel. They don't need their own in-house scheduling team. They can work with a number of partners to insert ads. They can work with companies like ours to sell those ads. Please do. And so in terms of getting the channel up and running, it's quite straightforward. The challenge, I think, for some of the smaller broadcasters is how you then galvanize an audience to come and watch that channel. I think that's a particular channel with some of the app-based fast services on TVs. Often the apps are kind of quite far down the screen, and there's a number of other apps to choose from. So getting standout is quite difficult. From our experience, there are 2 ways that you can work it. One is that you have a bit of content that is well known, so Baywatch TV on Samsung, for example, not to everyone's taste, but people know what Baywatch is, and when they go to the EPG, they'll understand what they're getting when they click on the button to watch it. The other way is actually working with a very niche audience and sending that niche audience directly to the channel. So we work with a channel called Absinthe TV that just has content aimed at snowboarders. So they can tell those specific viewers via their website, via their other channels, to go directly onto the channel and watch it specifically. So they're galvanizing their existing audience to go and watch the channel. I think it's getting more, I think genre-based targeting is getting much more popular. Initially, probably we spent the last year and a half talking to people about explaining what CTV is and specifically what fast is. I think it's only now that the industry is starting to look at fast as a major opportunity. Also, from an advertising perspective, because the market is quite new still, having those sort of genre-based specific conversations with advertisers were few and far between, because most of them are still looking at YouTube or linear TV. Increasingly now, a couple of things have changed. One is more and more advertisers are looking for CTV or at CTV because it can provide better targeting opportunities. And also I think the ad serving capabilities have got markedly better. So there's less fear for these advertisers about having the same ad playing out 3 times in a break. It's being treated much more like linear TV or traditional TV in that there are specific breaks. You can avoid clashes, avoid repetition. So not only can you target by genre, but you can also have your ad appear in a very premium environment. So more and more advertisers are turning that way. For me, it's the EPG, the electronic probing guide, and that specific interface that the likes of Samsung and LG have and own that is the future of FAST. I think there is a large element where certain channels are going to come on to FAST and attract their own audience, and therefore they're going to be able to tell their audience exactly where to find those channels. So whether it's an app or on the EPG, it doesn't matter. But in the main, the EPG is the easiest way for consumers to engage with the channels. It's an existing way that people understand. So you do that with Sky, you do that with Freeview. Already we're seeing platforms like Samsung start to advertise that a bit more to their consumers. I think now that FAST is becoming more prevalent and the likes of Samsung understand the value of it, they're spending more and more money educating consumers about it. It's part of their campaign now when you buy a new television. So for me, if you can have a channel on that electronic programming guide, it's getting more and more sophisticated as well. So if you're a news channel and you're within the news section, that is your best chance of success in this landscape.